Okay, so Alicia, please tell me about your work if you can. What your work is and how your work how you actually came into doing the work that you do.
Yeah, sure, Finn. I love to do that. Well, I started, you won't believe it, but I used to smoke and I used to love smoking. In the time in my youth, it was, you could do it everywhere, even in plane. And and then when I wanted to stop, I couldn't, many years after I smoked, 15 years or 20 years, I couldn't stop. I would convert in a monster, really. I would get very jumpy and very irritable, and I would be very, I don't know, very despot with people. I mean, I would treat people, even my children or my husband, in a way that I couldn't recognize myself. So I really couldn't stop it. And even if I knew, at the cognitive level that it's stupid to smoke and it's only wasting money, harming your health and all this stuff, but there were certain moments in my experience, my emotional experience, that I just wanted a cigarette. It didn't matter. Anything didn't matter. Really like an addict. So I can really relate to addictions because I felt it very, very strongly. So a friend told me, "Why don't you try EFT? Have you heard about
I've heard
emotional
of it,
freedom
but please
technique? Okay, this
explain it
tapping
more.
technique,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah."
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, and this is a very good friend of mine, and she's a pharmacologist, so she's also uh, scientifically trained. So when she said that, I said, okay. And she heard it in one of the seminars she attended. So I said, I'm going to give it a try. And when I was doing it, I said, what am I doing here? I am touching or, just tapping myself like a monkey.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of resistance, to overcome this. And I was watching, not that my children come in, and because I was doing it online, and see me doing this crazy stuff. So I'm just telling you this to know the level of resistance I had
Yeah, yeah,
toward
yeah.
all these alternative modalities or complementary modalities. I was completely on the scientific sheen, and nothing else would have a little space in my life or in my understanding. And well, long story short, after the session, I stopped smoking. No
Oh my.
cravings at all.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. The next day, no cravings, no desire for smoking, nothing. And of course, I felt a lot during the session when I really went in, and I followed the process. So I was like, wow, what is going on? What is here? What is this? So I started researching and getting into all this stuff and the meridians and these acupressure points, which are the same like acupuncture. And so traditional Chinese medicine does exist, or is real, because before it was like everything is hocus pocus and
Yeah.
these kinds of. So I really immersed myself in in this, in literature, and really finding out. And of course, I have to learn this, and we have to give this, we have to share with the world, because if it's so easy to get rid of such addictions or such emotion or grudges you get, with people or something, really to forgive and to release these emotional blockages. So I really that started my journey,
Yeah.
I came deeper and deeper, and reading more, like everything was pointing a little bit to the spiritual world, which I was completely, I was raised Catholic, but then I said, no, that's impossible. If God exists, cannot be like that. So I was like an atheist, this is when we die, and it's okay with me, um, but immersing myself in the Taoism and Buddhism and all these things, and reading more about all this stuff, and many things started to make more sense. And I also allowed more of my intuition, which was always
Mm.
very strong, and I always try to push it down or to not to take it into account. And yeah, and one thing leads to the other. First, I didn't want to meditate. Everything was pointing to meditation, and to quietness, but I always was like doing, achieving, and you have to, yeah. I used to think, if we were made to be, to stay like this, we would be trees.
Yeah.
So we're the trees, just to sit still, and we have to do action. Now I finally came to understand that it's a balance. Of
Yeah.
course, you have to take action, but you also need these times where you reflect and you go within, and really see and find this balance. And yes, so one thing led to the other, that I
Yeah.
started meditating, and then I found breath work, which is amazing. Have you tried breath
Oh
work?
yeah. I mean,
Yes.
I think it sounds like we're on a very similar path because so I when I was when I was a teenager, I was a very strict atheist. I mean, I was very rationalistic, very atheistic. Um, and I ended up I did my degree in biomedical sciences and I studied zoology. But there came a point where I realized that all this stuff I was doing, all the kind of like, you write down, okay, I'm gonna do this with my body, I'm gonna do this X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. And you're trying to do more and more and more and more, and you're trying to like do everything you can to get to this point of healing and relaxation and peace. And you realize then that you actually can't get there through like thinking about it. And yeah, so I think it's yeah, so I came across that I have my own I did a slightly different pathway. When I was 19, I took psilocybin mushrooms, and
Okay.
I had no before I went into that experience, I was a complete atheist. I was like, yeah, I think there's just the matter. I had no like real I had slight things that I thought, but then after that experience, I was like, I'm completely wrong. I've got the whole thing
Yeah.
wrong. And it took me a long time to actually process what all that information was. But um yeah, I do breath work. I do I'm at the point now where I find that I'm focusing my energy in it. I'm getting very specific about the things that I want to do and my intentions. I'm putting all my energy into that. And I'm definitely sort of purging out all these old emotions. And so I'm interested about your what happened with the tapping thing. So you did a session of that, and then afterwards you didn't have any urge to smoke.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then I made the training, I did a training to also to help people get there. And uh, I never had it in one session,
Yeah,
There's a lot of people that quit smoking, but at least they needed 3 sessions, some of them longer, like 5, which is also great, it's great results. But for me, I think that was my message from God or from
yeah,
the universe, that He made it so,
yeah,
that I really like wake up and see that there's much more. I never had the urge, the need, the want, even the smoke is like, it was amazing, but never ever I had cravings. I didn't have to. Many people start eating, when they stop smoking and gain 10 kilos or 20 kilos, and you just change from one habit to another.
yeah,
So that was the amazing thing, that it was like gone, you know, gone. But of course, I have been. Then you start. It's like for me, is that you open the Pandora box, and then you
yeah,
start noticing how many emotions were repressed
yeah.
without you being conscious of it.
Mm,
Because I wasn't conscious that all these emotions were like that. That's why I was so surprised that all this shit was coming out,
yeah,
when I would be in this position, really. But it's
yeah,
everything that was locked in that I couldn't
Mm.
process. I didn't have the tools to process it, you know, all the uncomfortable emotions that we never learn how to process, and we keep them pushing down and pushing
Yeah.
down, repressing and ignoring and numbing and distracting ourselves with everything else, you know, whatever it is,
Mm.
just to not to feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Until we learn that we have to feel them, to release them, you know, really to heal. You have to release, you have to feel the emotions that they are there. And there are healthy ways of doing that, you know, not that you go like rampage because, because you were, I don't know, abused as a child in any kind of way. Yeah. So, yeah, that started me in this trauma, deepening of trauma. And that is not only the huge traumas, you know, the developmental trauma that most of us have had in a certain amount, you know. And yeah, but tapping is also a great way, you know. It's very good for anxiousness, for fears, claustrophobia, all these kind of things that which are very specific, you know, that you have. It works marvels, really. It's really a great thing. And I also think, because I've learned many modalities since then, you know, that the thing that made it happen for me, it was that I really went inward. You know, this, I don't know if you have heard from focusing, this from Eugene Gendling, that he made this, and the felt sense, and that we really are with our body, and yeah, really attentive, what is happening, the sensations, how it changes. So that makes a huge difference, you know.
Mm.
And so I was lucky enough that I went there, you know, during the process. Because if you are distracted, and then you can tap as much as you want and nothing will happen, you know. So you need like this combination of being conscious and being in your body and allowing everything to come up, you know, and to find a way out. And the great thing is that the body has this innate way of healing. Exactly as we cut ourselves, you know, and you know, it closes down, it builds a scar, you know, and then it's gone. Emotions have emotionally, or the psyche has exactly the same way of healing, but we have to allow it. And I think this knowledge got lost in the way of bringing us up, you know, in the Western world, at least more, you know, that we went too much to the head and we don't listen to the body or the heart. And
Yeah. Absolutely.
fortunately
Yeah.
for us, is that is more and more things are being discovered, being measured, you know, and finally approved, or you know, withstand the scientific tests, and more people are getting the benefits of all these things. Yeah.
Did you have a moment where you, for me, I had a moment where everything I was practicing. So I was kind of like I was kind of semi in, semi out. Like I was kind of like practicing all these different spiritual techniques and kind of being like, oh well, you know, they're nice, they feel good. I'm kind of that. But then I had a couple of moments, but where things happened in my life that were so just beyond explainable that I actually couldn't put them into like kind of classification in my brain, that I realized, oh, this stuff is real. Did you have a moment where that like where you kind of got knocked out of um the previous way that you were operating?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think the more we are centered, or you know, in our body,
Mm,
the more this kind of stuff starts happening,
yeah.
you know, and called it serendipities or synchronicities or whatever it is. But it's like the life is taking you in a path, you know, and the
Yeah.
path gets clearer and clearer the more you do things, you know.
Mm,
And of course, there are, I mean, I also had, I don't know if you have this experience, but sometimes at the beginning, it's like I came to a point I said, wow, like you feel you are above the rest because you know so much or you have
Yeah.
understood, it's like this awakening, and it can come with ego and greatness, that
Mm,
you can, and yeah, that again has to be like dissolved, and put those layers down again and see that we are really the same. We are
yeah.
all able to get there. We are all able to, of healing and understanding. So it's not you that heal, even if you are guiding, it's only you are making this space, or holding the space for healing to come there. So yeah, I think it is like a growing up also in the
Mm,
spirituality, that to understand deeper and deeper why things are there, or happened to me also that I thought, oh, wow, I should be further away. I've been doing this like 10 years now, and why I'm not there yet, and
yeah.
but it's not like that, because you are where you are and things
Mm,
keep coming up at the pace you are able to release them, and to integrate them. And there's no way, because at the beginning, this is what I wanted to do, that's why I started and made so many trainings. And this is like, I'm going to get there faster, I'm going to do that and take that, and reading and learning and music, and sound healing. And there are so many modalities out there, and they
mm,
are all great, So,
yeah.
and I've always been very curious and love exploring, but I also realized that I don't have to learn all of them, you just have to
Yeah.
master in some of them. And this you can only do if you keep doing them, keep practicing them, and not only learning them and then, oh, I tried it out, that's nice, and next, and the next and the next. And that's a little bit how we are in life, a lot of, with social media, it's like constantly consuming, and
Yeah.
constantly having input, and not having time to process it. And
Yeah.
this is what we need more now. I think these spaces when we can process what we live. It's not that we stop living, of course, and social media is part of it. It's great. It's how we met, it's how we connect.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously it's beautiful and has a lot of benefits and things that were, I mean, yeah, it's a time of information and of connection, I would say, because there's no limits. But we
Do
also
you
have to find the time to process. That's all I want to say. Yeah, go ahead, please.
do you so you're from, are you from Mexico originally?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was recently, I was not in Mexico, but I was in Costa Rica, which is Central America. Um
Um,
and I'm wondering what you think about how um because I notice a lot there because of the influence of the United States, the rising levels in obesity. And I'm wondering what you think about how that can be, how this material and these, I don't know if you want to call them techniques or healing practices, how can that help that region of the world? Because it's so beautiful, but I found it so upsetting as well, because it's just like, oh, I don't know, it was so difficult being there, because you're in the almost like paradise, but then at the same time just the suffering and the like
yeah.
things that were happening. I'd be interested to hear what you have to think, obviously, because you would know more about the region than I would.
Yeah, I think it's well, I think Mexico is the the place with the highest rate of diabetes now,
Yeah.
coupled with obesity. And I would say is that uh, we lost ourselves,
Okay.
So it's like, because when we lost all the traditions, the old traditions that used to have these rituals to overcome emotional trauma or emotions which are very, very normal, in life. you don't have these ways. And I think food is being used as a kind of coping with stress, with life, with being poor, and the resources are not being rightly distributed in Latin America or Central America, in Mexico, and this is growing instead of getting better. It's like this scissor is going more and more. The difference are stronger, and as you say, it's very, very sad. But I think these kind of tools, I would call them, it's really bringing, it's awareness, it's consciousness. This is what we need. The people are not conscious of their own power, of their own selves. They lost them. So they are relying, of course. What I know for sure in Mexico is that that's what is very affordable because it's very cheap as as food. Are tortillas, which is only they are very good, but not if you eat 1 kilo of them,
Yeah.
And then with a soda drink like Coca-Cola or something like this, because that's very, very cheap there. So, and that's a terrible combination, it's a terrible combination that brings the body in a very acid place, the pH of the body. So all this stuff starts coming. And I think that people eat much more than they need because of the emotion, to cope with emotions that they don't know how to deal with them, because it's not being taught as a kid. It's usually on the other say, the other hand, they tell you, don't be scared. It's nothing to be scared, but you are being scared at that moment, It's like, you shouldn't be angry. When you feel anger because you feel like you haven't been treated properly or righteously or so, this kind of, I think parents didn't know better. So it's not to blame, the oldest generations. It's just to come to this understanding, really to be conscious that this is what is causing so much suffering in the world. That we lost our power, we lost our ability to heal ourselves, to regulate our nervous system, and we are all going either like 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 that, like 100 things, or going on the other way. Depression is gaining so much, it's increasing so much. So it's in both extremes and not in the middle. This is where we have to be, in the middle. So yes, that's why I'm so fond, and one of my dreams or main targets is to bring this work in Spanish. Even though I live in Munich because I got married and came here, and I've been living out of Mexico since many, many years, I want to also work in Spanish. And this is a beautiful way, using the internet, that you can work online. And many of these modalities, even though in person is a bit different, and I love in-person sessions, but they work very, very good also online. You can also have groups or one-on-ones, and it works. You get the benefits, you feel it. Also has the benefit that the people that are assisting are at the comfort of their homes or at the safety, so you can really allow yourself to let go and sink in, and so many things. But yes, definitely these tools have to be brought.
Do you
Also,
think that
I would say, yeah.
do you think that like what are the traditions in Mexico that would have been there that are not being practiced anymore?
Well, it was communities, having communities, and having always like the eldest were like teaching and telling, and there were these rituals of passage also when you would be from a kid to become an adolescent. So I think this, and now it's like you are just supposed to do it,
Yeah.
because without any guidance, special guidance, and having guidance. I mean, that's changing, but it's like going to a psychologist would be in the Western world. It was very stigmatized also, so but it was like the eldest, it was part of the community that would recognize when you were going through those things and would give you support. So this support is missing, I think. And not only in Latin America, I would say that it's missing here, also in Europe,
Mm,
many things that have changed. And also to have a little bit more these kind of tribes or folks were more intuitive. They would
mm,
listen much more to the body, and they would be much more aligned also with the Mother Earth, with being combining this that you, and this has been lost, because now if the others that do it that way have more, so you look at and you try to do that. Yeah. And before you
yes,
were
yeah.
more in communion with life, and your plants were important, your animals were important, and also here, farmers would have a relationship with the animals they would grow, or with the plants, so it's another kind of thing. So I think this, and I don't think like this is because we are maleficent or something, in the industrialization of life. I think it's always with a good intention, but sometimes we go too far,
Mm,
with things. So we have to look, reflect, and change what is not working. And many things are not working, but now big monies are supporting that. And So, but I think that's another story. And unfortunately, yeah, I don't have
yeah, yeah, that's okay.
that
We
much
can
time, but it was,
we
yeah.
yeah, we can
Mhm.
keep we can wrap it up for there now. Maybe we can do it again or talk another time or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just stop the interview.